My name is Betsy Brown, and I'm here today with the Acworth History Foundation, and we're at a really famous local landmark. And the reason that we're here today is I'm here to answer the question, what would Herman Talmadge, Big Hugh Baby Jarrett, and Tom Long have in common? And that would be the Acworth Beach. And I did some research leading up to this because I want to tell you about the very interesting history about the Acworth Beach. By 1950, Lake Acworth and the containment dam that created it was complete. And the people of Acworth saw that there was an opportunity there for recreation, for commerce, and as it would happen, 1950 was also the year of a gubernatorial election. And the person that was campaigning the hardest, the most vigorously, and wanted it so bad was Herman Talmadge. So one day, Herman Talmadge made a campaign stop here in Acworth, and he met with our civic leaders, and two of whom were Harold Willingham, who was our senator from our district, and the other was John Heck, who was the commissioner of Cobb County at the time. And he sat down with these two men and with some other civic leaders and said, in his folksy way, just like, what is it that Acworth would like to have? What do you people need or see that we could do for you? And almost unanimously, everybody thought that Acworth needed a beach. Well, we just need a beach, and we see an opportunity here to for the progress of our community. And Herman thought about it, and he said right there on the spot, well, I think that's a good idea, and so in my budget, should I be elected, I'm going to include $25,000 for the creation of a beach and a beach house at Acworth, and I think that's a great idea. And of course, we all know that in 1950, that campaign was successful, and Herman Talmadge took office. He had a lot of help along the way. John Heck and Harold Willingham were certainly two of his biggest supporters, and they worked tirelessly for him. And wouldn't you know it, Harold Willingham was the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee in the State House of Georgia. So after the election, he and John Heck went to Mr. Talmadge and Governor Talmadge then and said, you know, we worked really hard for you, and we're just making sure that you're still on board with this, you know, proposal. When that bill came to him, when the budget bill passed out of the House and came to Senator Willingham, he upped the ante from $25,000 to $50,000 for the year 1951. And since the budgets then were on a two-year rotation, he not only did that, but we got $50,000 more in 1952. So that's how the $25,000 that Governor Talmadge pledged became $100,000, and all that we see here came into being. Of course, we couldn't do all of that with $100,000 today. But an interesting story that I also heard, and supposedly came straight from the mouth of Harold Willingham, was that he and Heck, after he was able to insert this new funds into the budget, John Heck said, you know, Harold, you may think you can do that, but I know Herman Talmadge pretty good, and I don't think you can do it. But Harold Willingham was so sure of it, he said, I'll tell you what, I'll bet you a Stetson hat that I can get this bill passed, and we're going to get that money. So they together went to visit Herman Talmadge and sat down with him and reminded him, I'm sure, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure they reminded him of all their support, and said, well, you know, just we want to be sure that you remember what you pledged and everything is still on go. And he said, well, it's in the bill, isn't it, boys? And they said, yes, sir, and they got up and started to leave, and we're told that that's how Herman Talmadge actually got tricked into signing off on $100,000 when it was really only originally $25,000. I encourage you to go to our Save Acworth History video YouTube channel and see the video that I excerpted most of this information from, and it's the video interview of Dr. Tom Scott, who's a history professor at Kennesaw State. It's really fascinating, has a lot more interesting facts in it. But right now, I'm going to turn this over to Tommy Long, who's going to fill in the rest of it about Big Hugh Baby and the beach.
Hello, my name is Tom Long. I'm here to reminisce a little bit today about the Acworth Beach and the beach house, which many of us that went to North Cobb High School have many memories of this place because it was the place to come. And back in the day, there was a celebrity here in our area around Marietta named Hugh Jarrett. He started out back in the 50s singing with a group called the Jordanaires that backed Elvis. Also back Patsy Cline, Eddie Arnold, and a lot of other folks. But he was on the Ed Sullivan Show with Elvis and the Jordanaires. And after he left Elvis as a bass singer, he moved to the Marietta area and went to work for 2 radio stations down here, WPLO and WFOM. And also he was working for Bill Lowry, which I later went to work for. And he was doing some promotion for some of Bill's up-and-coming artists. And some of those were the Tams, which you can hear in the background here now. Be young, be foolish, be happy. Billy Joe Royal, Tommy Rowe, Mac Davis, and there's so many others. Bertie Higgins, who played drums, who went on to have a big hit called Key Largo with Tommy Rowe. He was his drummer. But anyway, Hugh and Bill got together and they decided they needed some way to promote those new artists. So they came up with an idea, since this Acworth Lake beach had just been established a few years earlier, it might be a great place to come. So they decided to do some shows here at the Acworth Beach. And they set up a stage over here on the end, and they put a fence up, and they had one gate to go in here, and they charged, I think it was $5 to get in. And I mean, hundreds of people would show up here for these shows. You'd have Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs and Mac Davis and the Zots, and they would all gather here and perform. And we all pulled our shoes off and we'd go down and dance in the sand. And it was such a great, great time back in those days. And it's some of the most fun times I ever had back in the early 60s when we were going to high school. And later on I went to work for Bill Lowry, and I worked with a lot of these artists, Billy Joe Royal and Tommy Rowe and the Atlanta Rhythm Section and Joe South, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, Games People Play, all those songs they used to play right here on the Acworth Beach back in the early 60s when we come down here and didn't want to go somewhere else but a local venue here we could come and have fun and see one another and dance, party, get a drink or a Coke or a hot dog. And it was amazing times that we had, and a lot of memories were made here. I learned to swim here when I was 7 years old. We used to have a raft out here in the middle of the lake. And my dad was driving a Greyhound bus back in those days, and when he'd get off the road, he'd bring me down here and teach me how to swim. And my next door neighbor, she reminded me of this. Her name was Jacqueline Haney, which was Johnny Haney's sister. She was older than me, but when I was learning to swim, she was trying to swim and was going down for the 3rd time, as she told me, and my dad reached down and pulled her up and saved her life right here at the Acworth Beach. And that was some amazing times back in the 60s, and I wouldn't take anything for it. And I'm just glad that I grew up here and had a chance to make memories on this Acworth Beach.
Thank you for joining us at the Acworth Beach today, and we really want to say thank you to Tommy Long, who had such great memories of the Big Q Baby Hopperoonies and sharing those with us. We had so much fun doing these, and we're looking forward to doing even more. And in closing, would like to wish you and your family happy holidays.